Welcome back to Down the Road. It's going to be fun going down the road with you today. Trevor Hanger's going to join us in just a little bit. He is a strategic advisor with Forbes Tate Partners. I would suggest that you take a look at what they do. In fact, go ahead and get to the Google, and you'll find out how effective they are at what they do. It's certainly worth your time to take a serious look at. And we're going to talk about the markets. We're going to talk about 2020. We're going to talk about where this is all headed to. Dr. Barbara Hedrick's is going to join us today as well. She is a professor at MSUM, or as I know it, Moorhead State. But she's at the Minnesota State University Moorhead, and we're going to get a chance to talk about the stimulus bill with her. Not necessarily all the details of it, as much as the politics of it. As we speak right now, Mitch McConnell has said that he won't bring to the floor a vote on the stimulus bill. He's not going to have a debate over whether or not that the price per what I call W-2 employee, or the individuals that make less than $70,000, that those individuals would get an additional $1,400. So we'll talk to her about that. We'll have some comments for you on what they're doing. You know, the House has approved the $1,400. They've approved that getting to $2,000 for all of their workers. So, and Joe Biden's also, is one of those topics we'll try to hit upon today. He's very critical of the Department of Defense, saying that he's not getting the information as president-elect that he should be getting in regards to our nation's defense. And as we all know, I don't know too many things that the transition team should be talking about more than the Department of Defense. We can talk about domestic policies all we want, but it isn't going to change the fact that the most important thing we have to deal with is the defense of this country. So let's bring him in. Trevor Hanger joins us. He's a strategic advisor with Forbes Tate Partners. Trevor, good to have you back going down the road with us.
Good to see you, Joel. Thanks for having me.
Want to talk to you a little bit about markets, where we're ending the year. If you look at some of the indicators, you know, and you and I both know that the greatest economic indicator isn't necessarily the stock market, but certainly if you look at it, it thinks we're doing just fine. What's your take on that, Trevor?
Yeah, the markets have ended the year strongly. We're touching all-time highs here on some of the major indices, the Dow and the S&P and the NASDAQ, and even the small market or small cap names, the Russell 2000s, really had a nice recovery there in the back half of the year. And so the markets are telling you that they're excited for 2021. I think they're really looking out toward the back half of the year. You can see the elements that are pumping the market higher really revolve around the vaccination process and the expectation that the U.S. economy will get back to full strength toward that 4th of July timeframe into the back half of the year. But I think as a lot of your listeners and viewers will know, we got a long road between now and then, and there are going to be some challenges for the U.S. economy in the first quarter of 2021.
So what does the stimulus bill do to that? Because you just mentioned that obviously the vaccine getting out there is put a little light at the end of the tunnel. I get that. Trevor, I've been wrong about this. I thought that really what was going to happen when it comes to the vaccine was it would get out quicker. I think that what you're seeing is that, you know, while we might disagree whether July 4th is the time we're high-fiving, it's not going to be as quick as what I had hoped it would be. I thought our distribution would be a lot faster. That being said, that's like a mea culpa on my part. I might be right yet. I'm crossing my fingers, and I'm still hoping to declare victory on that. But the stimulus bill, you know, you were talking about that first quarter. What does the stimulus bill do to that when it comes to our economy?
Well, there's certainly some elements of the stimulus bill that will help. You know, the direct payments that are going to go out to people, whether it's the $600 that's currently in the existing bill, or you know, if they can get the Senate to pass the $2,000 step up there, you know, either one will add some real momentum to some of the retail sales and consumer spending elements of the economy. You've also got portions of it, you know, PPP extension and re-up can provide some additional capital for smaller companies to try and keep people on payroll, which can, you know, in turn help with the economy as well. And there's some other spending elements of it that are there that can make a difference. It's not the, you know, $2.5 or $3 trillion that House Democrats were talking about in the fall. But it's certainly, there are some elements there that will provide a little juice to the economy in the first quarter there as well.
So in a second, we're going to get to that 2,000 versus the $600. But, I'm curious about if there was a Christmas bump. Do we know the numbers on Christmas yet? Because I can tell you what my wife got me, and it was nowhere near what she got me last year. And there could be a lot of other reasons for that. But I didn't get that Christmas present that would make me high five this year. So are we seeing, I know the numbers for Amazon have to be through the roof, but are we seeing a Christmas bump anywhere? Did people go out and spend some money?
Well, I think it's obviously too soon to know exactly what those numbers are going to look like. I think there were some bright spots in the spending numbers that you've seen so far in December. But again, as you point out, a lot of that is in the online retail space. A lot of it is around the Amazons and the Walmarts and some of the biggest corporations out there that were really able to transition into something that's much more internet retail heavy, as opposed to your smaller shops, your mom and pop retail, which look like they've probably continued to struggle here in the fourth quarter and into the Christmas holiday season. That's going to depend a little bit on location as well and some of the rules around lockdown. They're obviously stricter in some places like Southern California and New York than they are in some places in the Midwest, and that's going to have an impact as well. But I don't think you can count on having the same kind of Christmas retail season this year that you had last year. And you're really starting to see, I think, reinforcement around the idea that you've gotten this K-shaped economy where you've gotten certain companies and sectors and organizations where you've really seen a true bounce, and others that really, are headed in the wrong direction still. And it's sort of a tale of two recoveries that way.
Will this define the new economy? Well, as people, and I look at it from a media standpoint, we have access to a national stage here in the Midwest because of this, because of the ways that we can communicate that we never were allowed to before. If I wanted to do national media, I had to go to Prairie Public, sit in front of a camera because the quality had to be a certain thing. Now we sit here and we communicate in this way. I don't think we're ever going to go back to the old way. I don't. Let me use this as an example. My wife worked out of an office all her life. She is the vice president of a large area. She moved home and she's working from home. I don't think she's ever going to go back to that office. In fact, I'm positive she's never going to go back to that office, which does a couple things. She's not spending gas. There isn't miles going on the car. She's not renting office space, or her company isn't renting office space. So are things in the economy going to be different forever, for example?
Yeah, and I think the examples you highlighted are real examples around things that are going to change, that aren't going to go back exactly the way they were before. I think you will see a rebound in business travel. You will see people eventually getting back to the office. I mean, my wife works. We have 2 young kids. I think I'd be excited to get back into the office at some point and have a little more space and a little more ability to focus. And there are still hiccups with this. My apologies to your producers because it took me a second to get my camera on. It takes us, we're all still figuring this out, I think, and there'll be some hiccups along the way. But you're right. I think a lot of people are discovering the joys of working from home, are discovering the benefits of being able to do some or most of or all of their job remotely. And it is going to have an impact on how much gas we use. It's going to have an impact on how commercial real estate works. It is going to have an impact on the airline industry and other travel industries that exist and rely on business travel that way. And so, some of these trends may have been slowly moving there. I think, more and more people every year did online, did their shopping online. But this has really, increased it exponentially in a way that for people who maybe used it a little bit or weren't comfortable using that kind of technology yet, they've been forced to get comfortable with it, and they've discovered that it's fairly easy to use. And that's going to, create some long-lasting change that way.
So, Trevor, you're down to your last $20 in your wallet. I'm making that so, okay? You have to bet one way or another. You got to bet whether or not that W-2 employee gets $2,000 or whether or not they get $600. Where's that $20 going to?
That $20 is going right now to, I think, only getting the $600. This has been a very interesting negotiating style on behalf of President Trump. I think he's put the Republican leadership, especially in the Senate, in a tough spot. Right now, it looks like they're not eager to take that vote to approve that $2,000 check, but we'll see. A lot can change in the next couple of days. You know, Senator David Perdue down in Georgia, who's obviously in a hotly contested re-election runoff that's scheduled for a week from today, he came out today and said he would support those $2,000 checks. And so there's clearly some back and forth going on at the highest levels of the party, the Republican Party there, around the best way to approach this. And as I said, I don't think the president's done them too many favors in terms of executing this gracefully. And I think at the end of the day, it's a really tough vote for a lot of members of the Senate. And it would not surprise me if it was something that didn't actually come to a full vote that way.
So 30 seconds left, but was this a gotcha by President Trump? Was this a, hey, this is the last time I'm going to smack you around? Mitch McConnell, you took to the floor and you declared Joe Biden to be president-elect. And so I waited. I was quiet, and I waited to put out that $2,000 figure because I knew it would make you out to be the jerk. Is that what this was all about?
You know, it's hard to say. It's certainly that certainly sums up some of the animosity that currently exists between everybody on that side of the aisle. I think the president was also really focused on trying to do whatever he could to convince people that he won the election. And this negotiation took backstage to that. He left it in the hands of some other folks. And at the end of the day, I think he's also concerned that his legacy might not involve enough stimulus and enough money in the hands of people as he's headed out the door. And so that's where the $2,000 comes from.
Trevor, you're good at what you do. I encourage everybody to check out Forbes Tate Partners. I appreciate you going down the road with us.
Thanks a lot, Joel. Good to see you.
When we come back, we're going to get a chance to talk to Dr. Barbara Hedrick. She's somebody who understands politics, and we're going to talk about what Trevor and I just talked about right after this as we go down the road.
Beck News brings you real people and real news. Every weekday on KNDB, KNDM, and KRDK. Start your evening with the Dr. Duke Show at 4. Take a fresh look at current events with Ladies of Another View at 4:30. Go down the road with Joel at 5:30. Watch No Apologies with Becker at 9. Cap off your night with No Filter with Debbie at 10. Beck News. Real people, real news.
Capital City Restaurant Supply is your one-stop shop for quality restaurant products for the large to small kitchens. Commercial-grade restaurant and bar supplies, limb game processing equipment, refrigeration, dinnerware, and smallware. We sell everything including the kitchen sink from trusted manufacturers for the chef and all of us. Open to the public since 1971, we are veteran owned and North Dakota proud. Let us take care of your restaurant and home kitchen needs today by visiting us at 1414 Interstate Loop in Bismarck or on the web at capitalcityrestaurantsupply.com.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county. Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
For the greatest selection and full menu offering is the Four Seasons Restaurant and Ice Cream Parlor in Garrison. Succulent sandwiches, big breakfasts served all day, and delicious desserts. Easy access in and out for campers and RVs. The Four Seasons Restaurant at the top of Main Street, Garrison.
some things in life are hard. That's why banking shouldn't be. Cornerstone Bank.
Doesn't matter if there's a little snow, a little ice, we're going to keep going down the road and we're going to get a chance to visit with Dr. Barbara Hedrick. She is, well, quite frankly, somebody that I've always been impressed with. She understands the strategy, usually behind some different moves politically, and she is a professor at Minnesota State University Moorhead, which makes her quite proud of me, because many times when I talk to her, I still say Moorhead State. Old habits, along with knowing a lot of people that went to Moorhead State. Dr. Barbara Hedrick, good to have you coming down the road with us.
It's great to see you, Joel. It's great to see people through Zoom, I must say. That's how it helped get me through Christmas.
All right, just to make you happy. So when we have to do this again, okay, tell people what you have on right now. Tell people.
I have my two-time Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs sweatshirt on. I've been a Chiefs fan since I was 4 years old back in the AFL days.
Can I just point this out? One of those wins was against my Minnesota Vikings. Is this like a slap in the face, or what is this all about?
No, I mean, I never hated the Vikings. I didn't know the Vikings before Super Bowl IV. I do remember that Super Bowl. My oldest sister says I even watched the first Super Bowl with the Chiefs and the Packers. And
that was
I don't
a great
remember
game.
That one. I don't remember that one, but she says I watched it.
I don't remember it either, but I've gone back and watched it. That was a really good game. Believe me,
the first half was okay. The second half was really terrible. It was bad when that guy hung over at tight end beat you so badly.
Yeah, he was hung over. And by the way, I was cheering for you then, too, even though I was a little kid and didn't know what was going on. I went back and watched the game. Dr. Hedrick, that isn't why I asked you on. I asked you on to talk about the stimulus bill and the politics behind the stimulus bill. Earlier in the show, I asked an individual from Forbes Tate if he had his last $20 in his wallet, how he'd bet. Do the individuals who make $70,000 or less get $2,000, or do they get $600? I'm going to ask you the same. Which one of those two win?
I'm afraid I think it's probably going to stay at 600. They may be able to compromise with something less because right now Bernie Sanders, I've been trying to follow this actually via Twitter, and Bernie Sanders has now officially started filibustering the effort to bring the override on the veto on the defense bill. So that's basically the standoff you're having right now in the Senate. The Democrats tried to bring up the $2,000 payment that passed the House just yesterday. It could not get through on unanimous consent because Mitch McConnell became the objector. And so when the effort to do unanimous consent on the override of the defense bill came through, Bernie Sanders objected. And unless Mitch McConnell can come up with 60 votes, he can't get that override done. And I know he wants to get that override done. So there may be now a chance for some sort of negotiation. I don't think it'll ever get up all the way to $2,000.
Is there a nuclear option when it comes to this? Just strictly from a mechanics standpoint. I know that Bernie Sanders is talking about, hey, I'll filibuster, I'll make sure it gets to $2,000. But what's in Mitch McConnell's toolbox?
If he doesn't have 60 votes, he could do the nuclear option, but that means he's eliminating the filibuster down to 51 votes to cancel any filibusters. That's basically what the nuclear option does, and that would mean that if he wins both Senate seats in Georgia, then the chance for the Democrats to stop bills that they want gets more difficult for the minority, and that will be true if somehow the Democrats pull off the Georgia seats, and that's a bit of leverage. I don't think Mitch McConnell wants to lose, so I don't think that's a trigger he wants to pull. I think there's some sort of there's a bit of a challenge going on between the two sides in the Senate. What do you think will matter more in the Georgia races, which are now just 2 weeks away? No, 1 week away. 1 week away. An override on a defense bill or these checks, and which will activate the voters get out, which is always key in these runoff races. And both sides are sort of making their bets, and we'll see what Mitch McConnell thinks matters most. I would assume as the week goes along, whether he thinks that those Georgia senators he wants to keep needs to have that stimulus as well.
There's a lot of.
He certainly doesn't want to make them vote against it.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Well, Senator Perdue out of Georgia came out today in front of the 2,000, or not against. He came out in favor of the 2,000, which very smart politically. I think that President Trump put them in a box when it came to that. But in this week's time, and look at the time it took Nancy Pelosi to basically call all their bluff, which I think it was a bluff, and say, all right, you'll be surprised how fast we can get through the House and get it over to the Senate that it's $2,000. Now, when you go down to Georgia, the one thing everyone's noticed is there's a huge turnout of voters in Georgia. Now, there's an assumption that helps the Democrats. But when you look at the registered voters in Georgia, and you look at how those registered voters voted down party ticket, or down ticket when it came to the Trump vote, the Trump-Biden vote, I'd have to say that any Democrat who thinks that they're going to win these two seats is being optimistic, Dr. Hedrick, and I'm curious what you think.
I agree. There are still more Republicans than Democrats in Georgia, particularly among voters. What makes the race interesting is the operation for getting out voters, including less likely voters that now exist in Georgia for Democrats, thanks to people like Stacey Abrams and some other African American women who've organized a great effort, not only in the Atlanta area, but also in more neglected areas outstate, where there are some Democratic voters who had been basically not asked, come out and vote, please, we'll help you, we'll get you registered. And they've been out again. I think both sides have been out again. I do expect you're going to have an unusually high runoff turnout. And that could mean that both sides turn out a lot of people, just like in the general election.
So, let's go there a little bit, because obviously, a hard race has been run in that Senate election down in Georgia, but there are pretty moderate senators on the Republican side. I realize this is a lot about chairmanships in committees, and this is a lot about who gets to say yes or no when it comes to bills coming to the floor. But when it comes to the tough votes, you still have Senator Murkowski, you still have Senator Collins, you still have Mitt Romney, who isn't afraid to vote against his party. And so while the Democrats might be a couple votes short, I would ask you this: are they really a couple votes short?
Yes, because it's one thing when you're voting against some things as radical as what some of the things Donald Trump want to do. It's another thing when you're voting for some of the more liberal things that the Democrats want to do.
Okay.
So I think those moderate voters cannot be definitely counted upon.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in Georgia. I mean, it really is. And obviously, this $2,000 affects that. 30 seconds left. Is Donald Trump still president of the United States, or has he checked out?
I think he's mostly checked out, except for efforts to annoy people and reward those who supported him and punish those who didn't.
Yeah, he knows how to pardon. There's absolutely no question about that. Fair?
Yes. Yeah, he knows that's one of the broadest powers he has.
Yep. Dr. Hedrick, always good to speak to you. Good to have you on, and hope you'll come down the road with us again soon.
I will do so, Joel. Just let me know.
All right, when we come back, let's talk about the news-making issues. Let's talk about how the House did vote to take it to 2,000. Let's talk about how this compares to what farmers are getting. I mean, that's a fair comparison, everyone. Are we being hypocrites when we think it shouldn't go to 2,000, when in fact there are many of us, many people that are watching this right now that are going to get way more than 2,000 through this stimulus bill? I want to talk about the defense side. Are we letting the Biden administration or President-elect Biden know what he needs to know to defend this country? Let's visit more about it when we come back right here down the road.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
In southwestern and south central North Dakota, on any given day at any given moment, a Dakota Community Bank and Trust customer is logging in or signing on to do their online or mobile banking. We believe that community banking can blend both the past with down-home customer service in-house and the future with modern banking conveniences and technology for our customers anywhere, like here or here, all while honoring our long-standing tradition of community-first oriented banking here at Dakota Community Bank and Trust.
My wife was diagnosed with early stage Alzheimer's. We talked about it and we kind of decided we'd be a little bit proactive and try to start making provisions. So we started looking here, and Eventide worked out to be pretty much the perfect answer. I guess I didn't expect it to be so nice. The staff here are terrific. We enjoy it.
They say when the going gets tough, the tough get going. At OK Tire, we're here to keep you going. From Firestone tires and replacements to retreads and even Firestone tracks, we have you covered. Our certified Firestone experts are ready to get you back up and running, no matter if you're on site or in the field, saving you time and money. OK Tire, we keep the tough going.
Now is the best time to plan for your 2021 farm equipment needs. North Dakota-based Summers Manufacturing is currently offering early order savings. Take advantage of big savings on North America's broadest tillage line, including the Super Kohler Samurai and the innovative VRT Renegade, as well as the best built, best backed land rollers in the industry. Talk to your Summers dealer today or go to summersmfg.com to learn more about early order savings available on all Summers equipment.
So there's a lot of things going on a national stage. If you're just joining us as we go down the road, you know, we were talking about Georgia. We were talking about some Senate races where if the Democrats win both, they have the majority in the Senate. It's my personal belief that that's not going to happen. There's far more Republicans in Georgia than there are Democrats. I think that Donald Trump lost Georgia not because of a political party as much as he lost Georgia because of Donald Trump. I mean, that's just flat out the truth. That race was never about Joe Biden as much as what it was about whether or not you wanted 4 more years of Donald Trump. And so here we sit in Georgia where the Democrats have all this hope, they have all this money that's gone into the race. And, you know, I'm telling you what my bet is. So we'll see where it goes. You know, the House, there's a defense bill that's on out there, and it's $741 billion in authorization for the Defense Department. That's money that goes directly to the defense of our nation. This is a bill that Donald Trump vetoed, right? He vetoed. And he said, no, send it back. We need more work. Well, the House on Monday voted to reject that veto. Now, keep this in mind. There's no bill that President Trump has vetoed in his time in office that has been overrode by Congress. None. And so if this is overrode, now through the Senate, this will be the first one. And so there's a vote that's going to be going on. Bernie Sanders is taken to the floor, and he's filibustering the possible vote on that Defense Department bill. And the reason he's filibustering it is he wants to force the Senate to vote on whether or not individuals get $2,000 instead of $600. So he wants that $1,400 more per taxpayer under $70,000. So he's grabbed a microphone, he's taken to the floor, and he's saying, nope, in the rules of the Senate, you've got to have 60 votes to make this happen, to override that veto, and you're not going to get them because I'm going to filibuster as I go. Now, I don't think it's a problem to get the 60 votes in the Senate to override the veto. I think that would happen and will happen. The question is whether or not it'll get a chance to happen anytime soon, or whether or not his filibuster will make the difference. You know, Donald Trump came out for $2,000 per person, but he came out after everything was passed. He's right about the $2,000. He's right about that. But he came to the dance so late that the band was already packing up. I mean, that's what he did. And so Nancy Pelosi called his bluff. I mean, she went in there and said, all right, you want $2,000? We'll pass a bill for $2,000. We'll send it over to the Senate. That way, the American people will understand who wanted $2,000 and who didn't. That was a gotcha move by Donald Trump. That was a gotcha move. He wanted to show Mitch McConnell that Mitch McConnell never should have taken to that Senate floor and said Joe Biden is the president-elect of the United States of America. Period. That ticked off Donald Trump so bad, I'll guarantee you a stapler went flying across the Oval Office. Well, maybe it wasn't a stapler. Maybe it was something else. But I will tell you, he was mad. And it doesn't take Dick Tracy to figure that one out. So here we sit. A Defense Department bill hanging in the balance, an administration that basically threw his own party under the bus quite a bit, a majority leader in Mitch McConnell that doesn't want it to get to $2,000. And so we're at a standoff, and it's going to be interesting to see where it goes. Not to mention the fact that the Biden-elect administration is already saying that the Trump administration won't give them the information that they need on national defense, that transition team isn't working together with them. It's called national defense, and it's called national defense for a reason. Do you think other countries are noticing this? Do you think that other countries that are our enemies like this? Because I can tell you, my gut tells me Russia and China love it. They love the fact that our national defense hangs in the balance, and the leaders that we pay to lead can't get anything done without fighting. You know, this all used to end at the water's edge. National defense, foreign affairs, it used to end at the water's edge. I think there's too much money in national defense. I always have. I think that national defense and the military get whatever they want, whenever they want. It's a personal belief. It's not based upon any fact, but if you look at how much we spend, I think it comes down to money that we need to police for the world. So one thing I want to compliment the Trump administration on is the fact that they really pushed hard to make sure that the world didn't know couldn't use us to be their policemen. And so that's one area that I agreed with Donald Trump on. I want to talk about farming. I want to talk about what farmers got when it came to this latest stimulus bill. Let me quote some numbers for you. It's $13 million for agriculture production in the new agriculture aid, which includes direct payments to farmers, producers, protection for food and agriculture workers, specific support for smaller producers, and that goes back to March of 2020. Direct payments compromising the bulk of farm aid, with USDA providing $23 billion. The $13 billion included in this bill is broke down this way. $5 billion for supplemental $20 per acre payment to all row crop producers. It's $20 an acre. Now, don't get caught up in the row crop because it includes wheat, barley, everything. They're probably just not smart enough to know what we call a row crop, what actually is a row crop, which is what we know a row crop to be. Now, $225 million for supplemental payments to producers of specialty crops. We're talking about fruits, nuts, vegetables. By vegetables, I think they're talking about edible beans, which there's a lot of here. Now, up to $3 billion for supplemental payments to cattle producers, contract growers of livestock, and poultry, dairy farmers and producers who were forced to euthanize livestock or poultry due to the COVID crisis. An additional $1.5 billion to fund purchases of food, including seafood, for distribution to those in need, and to provide worker protection measures and retooling support for farmers and farmers markets. Okay, so we looked out for the folks that you pull up when you want to buy a pumpkin. That's how I saw it there. Now, $400 million for dairy product donation programs. That's modeled after the 2018 Farm Bill pilot milk donation program. Also, $60 million in grants to small meat and poultry processors. Okay, $100 million for specialty crop block grants to support those specialty crops, and that might be where edible beans fall into. I don't know. My guess is no. It's where I thought it was. $100 million for local agriculture market programs, going back to the place where you pull up to buy things, and you can buy some fresh sweet corn there. $75 million for the Farming Opportunities Training Outreach Program. $28 million for state ag departments to fund programs aimed at confronting farmers' mental health crisis and stress. So the point being this, for those of you that farm, for those of you that make your living off the farm, as we sit here and we have a debate over whether or not it should be $2,000, let's not. And I make my living off of farmers. I do. The people advertising on this show and the people advertising on my radio show are trying to connect with farmers. So I understand the big economy. I understand the bigger, broader side of it here locally. But I hope we keep in mind and aren't hypocrites about the men and women that are out there as that W-2 employee. I hope we keep in mind the fact during this COVID crisis, it hasn't been all so good for them. I mean, you know what a bushel of soybeans is worth right now. It's not bad times on the farm. It's not. So I hope we take a look at supporting that worker that is out there, not in agriculture as well. When we come back, well, we're going to get a chance to talk about weather. Daryl Richardson's going to join us. You're going to recognize the face. You probably recognize the voice. This is a man that's done a lot of TV in his day. So stick around. More coming your way right here down the road.
Howdy folks, it's the Caroline Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hay Bussin' breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at our salad bar, sink your teeth into our famous Caroline burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spur rattling pie with a combo roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
Since opening in Hebron in 1940, Dakota Community Bank and Trust has been your hometown bank. Our mission has been to provide modern banking convenience with old-fashioned hometown service. We've grown with the communities we serve through year-round events, countless sponsorships, and nearly 7,000 hours of volunteering each year. Learn more about our 80-year history at dakotacommunitybank.com.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
For the greatest selection and full menu offering, it's the Four Season Restaurant and Ice Cream Parlor in Garrison. Succulent sandwiches, big breakfasts served all day, and delicious desserts. Easy access in and out for campers and RVs. The Four Season Restaurant at the top of Main Street, Garrison.
Are you a thrill seeker, sightseer, or day tripper? The Ford Bronco Sport SUV is built for you. Four Bears Casino is giving away a 2021 Ford Bronco Sport loaded with a ton of interior space, safari-style roof, smooth suspension for any terrain, and easy-to-clean surfaces. Qualify now just by playing your favorite slots at Four Bears Casino. Double points on Sundays. Also get in on Super Senior Wednesdays, slot turning Thursdays, and hot seats on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Spin into Four Bears Casino and Lodge for chances to win.
Some things in life are hard. That's why banking shouldn't be. Cornerstone Bank.
We don't have many more miles today to go down the road, but I'm really glad that this individual is going to take a ride with us. You're going to recognize the name, you're going to recognize the voice, and you're sure going to recognize the face. Daryl Richardson is with us right now. He's with the North Dakota Agricultural Weather Network. Daryl, good to have you coming down the road with us.
Well, I was just thrilled to get the invite to be on your show today.
Let's begin this way. Tell people what the North Dakota Agricultural Weather Network is.
We are a network now of 161 weather stations throughout North Dakota, Minnesota, and eastern Montana. So we supply a lot of weather information, especially in agricultural circles. We run some weather guidance and stuff that allows farmers to get a better idea of, say, when they should spray, when they should fertilize, when diseases are very relevant or really they're going to form. And plus, we're used in a lot of other industries as well.
Very useful. And it's so broad who you're talking to right now. I mean, think of what the weather patterns are between Bowman and Cavalier, for example. And as you said, this Sydney, Montana, some of the individuals watching us right now. So as you know, many of you might remember that Daryl was in the profession of television for a long time. He was somebody that on any given night people counted on to know whether or not they were even going into work the next day. So we're looking at a snow pattern right now that, let me give you my perspective. Okay, I always look at winter being over. I know that we can get blasts after the Ides of March. I get that. But we didn't have November and December like we can have. And we're heading into January and everybody's talking about a little bit of snow. Give me your take on that.
Well, you know, after today's snow, which will mainly impact the most areas along and east of Highway 281, so most of central and east and central and western North Dakota will get very little from this event. And really the next 10 days, I'm sure it might not be zero, but it doesn't look like another event like today. So really, I think we're going to go back to the quiet pattern for at least the first week of January that we've been in most of the last 2 months. So usually a storm like today, maybe a lot of people wouldn't really notice so much, but this winter, you know, getting a few inches of snow is a big deal because we've had so very little in the past 60 days.
So the most important question I'm going to ask you, is it going to get cold enough to make some ice so I can drive my pickup out and make sure my fish house gets on the lake?
Boy, if you look at the pattern coming up, it does not look bitterly cold. The one favorable ingredient, Joel, really is we'll have snow cover on the ground now. And so that might lower the potential a little bit. But overall, the pattern just does not look like we're going to get, which we often can get, of course, this time of year, a week of below zero or teens or 20s below on a consistent basis to really thicken that ice. No, but on a positive note for you, at least, you know, it's that time of the year we won't get above freezing much. But no, not a lot of good ice building weather is coming anytime soon.
Yeah, so what you're telling me is have my buddy that's co-owner of my fish house drive it out there first. Is what you're telling me.
Perhaps.
Let's talk about the history of weather, where we're at from there. I mean, everybody's going to look at this as a fairly mild winter so far. You know, is it going to be like this, or has it always been like this, Daryl?
Oh, I've been reminding people back in the winter of 17-18, which was just a couple of years ago, we had absolutely no winter until the middle of January. And then from the middle of January until April 1st, we almost had 2 winters in 2 months. We all know living in the Northern Plains, things can turn around very quickly. I think the weather pattern is going to stay pretty quiet probably through the middle of January. Outside of that, I really think, we'll start getting into more, say, North Dakota type of winter as we go in the next couple of months. But the reality is we didn't have winter in November and December this year. So in turn, it's going to be a short winter either way because we've already missed out on 2/3 of it. I mean, 2 of the 4 months of really hardcore winter that we oftentimes get in these parts.
So, the average person that doesn't farm or doesn't live close to or talk to a lot of farmers always talks about the moisture from snow. And, how if we don't get that snow, it's going to make for a bad farm year, going into spring. Give me your take on that.
I'm actually in many ways the exact opposite. I always remind people that, Western North Dakota only averages about 1.5 inches of liquid over the entire winter. Eastern North Dakota, depending on what you consider winter, it's only 2 or 3 inches. So really, to me, it comes down to spring rain, because you can get more in one rain system in April than you can get the entire winter some years. So I understand it's really dry in many parts of the region. I tell them, the snow this winter is not going to make a big deal. A lot of it's going to end up in the rivers anyway because the ground's frozen. It really, to me, how tough things are going to be starting off in 2021 will be what happens really probably in April and the first half of May.
See, where you're spot on right about that is ask any farmers in the Red River Valley, for example, what they did to get rid of moisture. The sooner they can get in the field, the better it is for how they yield. I think it's pretty much the wide belief for many ag producers out there, and like spring rains are what they're looking for. It's absolutely what they're looking for. I want to talk to you a little bit about what 2021 is going to look like. Have you looked inside that crystal ball and said, all right, this is the pattern. This is what we can look at for moisture?
Well, interesting, Joel, as I gave my first 2021 forecast back on October 4th, 2 months ago. Sometimes I joke when I give all these talks, that's the joys of being Daryl Richardson. You're expected to make an 8 or 9 month forecast in times. But, instead of looking at it as a forecast, I tend to try to use the term, more of the trends or what the patterns look like to me. And what I've been saying so far, and next week I have a number of talks, just in the next couple of weeks actually, that I'll be giving on this subject. 2021 to me just looks to be probably more areas drier than average than wetter than average. And if that's the case, Western North Dakota in particular, which had a very dry 2020, is really going to be really hurting if that actually ends up coming true, because they lived on the fall 2019 rain this past summer. So a lot of the dryness didn't impact areas quite as hard as they usually would because we were so moist going into the season. Of course, that's not going to be the case in 2021.
You look at from when you and I were young and some of the hybrids that farmers have now, it's amazing how they can stand up to a dry year and how the yields have gone when it comes to corn production, when it comes to soybean production and other things. It just, in a lot of these areas, if you'd have told me that they got that much moisture, there wouldn't have been a crop at all. There just simply wouldn't have been a crop at all. And so I get totally what you're getting at. I want to take you down a road, Daryl, that if you look at what Lynn Helms put out from the oil and gas division in North Dakota, it wasn't a great year with oil production in North Dakota, with oil jobs in North Dakota. And you're asking, if you're the public watching this, you're saying, all right, he's a meteorologist, he's a scientist. What does that have to do with any of this? It does when it comes to coal, when it comes to oil, and it comes to people's belief about global warming and how people are buying the energy that's being produced. And so, as somebody who looks from the past into the future and is pretty doggone good at predicting what might happen, are we getting warmer as a planet? Is this something that, long term we should be worried about when it comes to our economy? Daryl.
I will answer this question only in the sense that, people have to remember this is Daryl Richardson's opinion and no one else's. From that perspective, yeah, the world is warmer than it was 100 years ago. I've never been a big fan of catastrophic global warming. I just see there's absolutely no evidence that we're going to warm up 3, 4, 5 degrees Celsius during this century. And so in turn, humans have an impact on the climate. I just personally don't think it's a great one, and that CO2 is going to raise the planetary temperatures that much that we're going to have this catastrophe. Would there be some other more minor, moderate things that we may have to deal with? Yeah, but to me, there's a really big difference between the two philosophies of catastrophic and, yeah, we have an impact, but it's probably not going to be all that great.
See, I told you he's honest when it comes to his opinion. He just throws it out there and makes sure that you're not afraid to hear it one way or another. Daryl, I like that. I like that about you. I like the fact that you gave us some time today. Thank you.
Well, thanks for having me on. It was a joy. I really appreciate it.
Daryl Richardson, ladies and gentlemen, with the North Dakota Agricultural Weather Network. When we come back, let's talk about farmers. Let's talk about supporting each other when it comes to the stimulus bill. Let's visit about it as we go down the road.
Howdy, folks. It's the County Line Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hey Bussin' Breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at a salad bar. Sink your teeth into our famous County Line burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spoon-rattling pie with a cum roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county. Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
Capital City Restaurant Supply is your one-stop shop for quality restaurant products for the large to small kitchens. Commercial-grade restaurant and bar supplies, limb game processing equipment, refrigeration, dinnerware, and smallware. We sell everything including the kitchen sink from trusted manufacturers for the chef and all of us. Open to the public since 1971, we are veteran-owned and North Dakota proud. Let us take care of your restaurant and home kitchen needs today by visiting us at 1414 Interstate Loop in Bismarck or on the web at capitalcityrestaurantsupply.com.
My wife was diagnosed with early stage Alzheimer's. We talked about it and we kind of decided we'd be a little bit proactive and try to start making provisions. So we started looking here, and Eventide worked out to be pretty much the perfect answer. I guess I didn't expect it to be so nice. The staff here are terrific. We enjoy it.
They say when the going gets tough, the tough get going. At OK Tire, we're here to keep you going. From Firestone tires and replacements to retreads and even Firestone tracks, we have you covered. Our certified Firestone experts are ready to get you back up and running, no matter if you're on site or in the field, saving you time and money. OK Tire, we keep the tough going.
Now is the best time to plan for your 2021 farm equipment needs. North Dakota-based Summers Manufacturing is currently offering early order savings. Take advantage of big savings on North America's broadest tillage line, including the Super Kohler Samurai and the innovative VRT Renegade, as well as the best built, best backed land rollers in the industry. Talk to your Summers dealer today or go to summersmfg.com to learn more about early order savings available on all Summers equipment.
I hope it was a good trip coming down the road with us today. Covered a lot of issues. I realize that, and I know that. Want to talk about this before we close out, because I think it's something that we all can recognize, but we don't want to talk about. And it's an area where if we're willing to just consider, we can find a way to help each other. North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, Minnesota, all different places that are watching this show right now, all have 2 United States senators. And there's a debate going on whether or not individuals should get $2,000 versus $600 of that stimulus money. I believe they should get $2,000. I do. I believe they should get $2,000. If you want to stimulate the economy, take that individual that makes less than 70 grand, and you know what? Give them a couple bucks in their pocket, they'll spend it. And it's a good thing that they'll spend it. If they buy that big screen TV, if they buy that washer, dryer, I don't care what they spend it on, it's their money. Give it to them. Give them back their money. Let's put it that way. But, you know, in our area, we're going to have people that say, 600 is enough. Then look in the mirror and see what you got. That's why earlier in the show I talked about the ag numbers. I want farmers to have those type of numbers. Doesn't change the fact that I want farmers to support that worker. And I realize farmers work. That's not my point. I want them to realize that that employee less than 70 grand is worth an extra 2 grand from the federal government as well. I don't think it's that hard of a stretch. And so calling your 2 United States senators and saying, look, I got some of mine, make sure they get some of theirs, isn't a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. And if you want me to break down the numbers of what a farmer buddy of mine who farms 2,500 acres got over the last year and a half, those are serious numbers. Those are serious numbers. And they go way beyond the 2 grand that we're talking about for that W-2 employee. Folks, help them out. Find a way to help them out. It's been good riding with you.
Beck News brings you real people and real news. Every weekday on KNDB, KNDM, and KRDK. Start your evening with the Dr. Duke Show at 4. Take a fresh look at current events with Ladies of Another View at 4:30. Go down the road with Joel at 5:30. Watch No Apologies with Becker at 9. Cap off your night with No Filter with Debbie at 10. Beck News. Real people, real news.